Howdy guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now here's the important thing about this video, and I want to do it in a very slow and methodical fashion because you have to understand the chain of thought to fully grasp the gravity of this particular situation. Let's get right into it right now. It is 2:12 a.m., November 15th. So here's the bottom line. There's a problem with overpayments at the Social Security Administration. Commissioner Kijikazi, who's doing a great job, she's doing a really amazing job. That's like the greatest gift that President Biden has given us for Social Security benefits. It's like the only gift he's given us. But the bottom line is Commissioner Kijikazi recognized that there was an overpayment issue during the whole COVID scenario, right? And she wiped those out. She took care of it. There was even an article on it with OIG and two attorneys that stood up and were kind of like these whistlers as a result of it, to say, hey, there's a problem here. But what's happening is this. That's not the issue. The issue is there's more types of ways overpayments can occur. There's no money in it for attorneys to basically go ahead and assist people, represent people to fight these overpayments, where you might owe this month or that month or this year or that year in benefits back to the Social Security Administration, which means you owe it directly to the U.S. Treasury. So what happens is this. Because there's no money in it that attorneys can really make off of it because people can't afford to pay them an hourly wage on this stuff, there's no more attorneys who are willing to really donate the time nowadays because, let's call it like it is, attorneys are making less than they've ever made, massive inflation. They just don't have the time anymore to go ahead and donate like they used to because the economy is quasi-failing. It is in a very bad spot. That means a lot of these individuals that are going to go and deal with this problem of an overpayment are going in unrepresented. And as a result of that, the problem that I foresee is that much more claimants, statistically a higher amount, will end up either having to lose their benefits on a monthly basis, lose some of the months of their benefits to pay back, right, the overpayment, or pay a portion of their benefits each month to the SSA to go ahead and pay back that overpayment. If you are unresponsive, they sometimes cut off the benefits. If you are not willing to negotiate, they'll just take your entire check. If you are willing to negotiate, but you get a certain rep that wants to take more per month, then you can't afford your rent. This is one of the greatest problems that I foresee in 2023 with the Social Security Administration and supplemental security income and Social Security disability insurance benefits. This is it. This is what I see as being one of the major issues coming into the next year. So what I want to do with this video is just explain the basics so that you have a general understanding of how this works. These are not just triggered through large-scale CDRs. These are usually triggered through what are called vocational changes or penal changes. Penal means basically prison, or basically jail, right? So, it's one of those situations where you got a job, you earned over a certain amount, you violated the substantial gainful activity element, and now you owe them back for that month because you received too much benefits. You go to jail for 30 days, you're in a facility that's paid for by the federal or state or county government for 30 days, and then all of a sudden you lose that month. Or you had over $2,000 in your bank account and you were on SSI, and there were no, allowances with that. So you went over the 2K in the resource limit. Yeah, it was over that for 3 years. You now owe them back pay for 3 years. We're talking like a lot of money. Okay. So my point with this video is to give you the basics so that from an attorney, you understand where to begin this battle. Okay, so first off, there's two prongs to this puppy. There's the appeal prong and the request a reduction prong. So just think appeal and get that amount lower or get it wiped out. Most overpayments that are under $1,500, even up to $2,000, they'll usually waive. If they're above that, then you begin the whole process of trying to reduce them and negotiate a monthly. You can download or complete the appeal form online, or you can download it. Basically, it's the SSA 561. SSA 561 PDF, Google, boop. Pull it up, print it out, fill it out, send it into your local field office. Okay. You can fax it in, you can mail it in. If you're worried about missing the deadline, like the amount of time, the 60 days you have to appeal and stuff like that, that's okay. Just call the SSA and tell somebody there that you're working on it. That tolls it and gives you more time. Just that call. Okay. So you have three options when you go to appeal. We're going to focus on the appeal first, then the reduction of the overpayment. There's a case review, a formal conference, and an informal conference, because you're not going to be, represented by an attorney. And I was one of the last attorneys to do these. I just kept losing money, and it got to the point where I couldn't do them anymore. We used to do a lot of case reviews because we could communicate very easily and interact with, the DDS reps that were going through this thing and the local FO people that were working on the financials of it. So, in that regard, we were able to go ahead and communicate with the two categories of people that mattered. You're not going to be able to do that well because you're not going to know what the rules are and how it works. So what you need to do is, if you have basically witnesses that you want to bring in, you need to do a formal conference. If you don't have witnesses that you want to bring in, you want to do an informal conference. Formal conference, more like a hearing. Informal conference, more like a chat. And then remember something. When you go in there, you need to be prepared. You need to go ahead and have a timeline of the events, your accounting sheets, your bank account statements, stuff like that. You can usually go online and just print them out. Any details about why they removed your benefits and why you have a good excuse. Why you have a good excuse. It's called excusable negligence. You should, could have, would have known not to do that, but could be a low IQ thing, anxiety, depression, interacting with governmental figures causes you problems, difficulty, using a computer because of eyesight, or reading the letter where they told you, what to do or not to do with that. Could be any one of those things. Okay. Build your claim. You have 60 days to appeal the overpayment. And if you miss that, you need to use the statute called the 404.911 statute. There's a bunch of little things in there, excuses why you can increase those 60 days. So instead of you having to appeal within 60 days, it could be 90 days, 120 days, but you're basically asking them to appeal it from the date that they received those changes. Okay. Now, with that said, your appeals could be denied. And these are the levels that you'll go through with your overpayment situation. Okay. You do your first file, deal with this whole situation, right? Then you appeal to reconsideration. Then you appeal to the administrative law judge for your hearing. Then you appeal to appeals counsel. Then you appeal to district court. Then you appeal to circuit court. Then you appeal to the Supreme Court. There's a lot of appeal options. You're not going to be able to do all of them without an attorney, which is another huge reason why this is such a terrible situation, because you'll get so high and then have to some degree, abandon ship because you just won't know how to file a brief at the federal appellate level. You're not going to have any clue about how to do that. Okay. If you can't obtain an attorney, which I almost can guarantee you won't find one that does this, then you'll need to let the judge know 10 days before the hearing, at the hearing level, if any medical evidence is unable to be obtained. Similarly, if you need a subpoena sent out to have witnesses present for your hearing, it's got to be done 10 days before the hearing. There's a 5-10-day rule. 10 days before the hearing, you got to let the judge know if the judge needs to go and get something. 827 witnesses subpoena, right? 5 days before the hearing, you got to let the judge know of anything that's still outstanding. That's the rule. 7. I have my little points here. Number 7. If you're going to a hearing and can't find an attorney to represent you, and obviously we all know you always want to be represented by an attorney when going in front of a judge, okay, especially a federal one. Federal ones, you definitely want representation. You need to make a timeline of what happened, because it's going to be from your perspective, and you need to do it in bullet point fashion. A lot of you guys, when you answer a question, it's like a hurricane, or as I like to put it, bleep all over the place. It's just, there's an idea, there's part of the answer, there's a huge story that has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. if you were walking through a field and there was a path, you ended up in the different field in a different country on a different planet. And that happens. You guys do it. A lot of you don't think you do it. But to us, the people trained in argument analysis and answering the specific argument or question that pops up, everybody that answers that hasn't had the law school training, to us in our brains, we're listening to them going, oh man, not good. All right. So bottom line is that this timeline should include the dates, events, your arguments, and an answer to at least one of the counter arguments for each thing that you bring up. Be ready. Be ready. Okay. The SSA will try to collect benefits from you throughout this process. Many people have an agreement for a small amount to come from their benefits each month. The SSA is more fearful than ever about their trust funds. It's weird because like the only people at the SSA that are like afraid, thinking about, fearful of like the trust fund running out are basically the high up executives and these people, the overpayment people, the we got to protect the trust funds people. Okay. The overpayment department seems to be one of the few departments that's watching it constantly. Most SSA representatives that I talk to and ask about basically, you know, what do you think of the trust funds? What's going on with the trust funds? What are your thoughts? They don't know anything about it. They don't know that retirement is running out within an 11-year period. They don't know. It's not part of their platform. The SSA doesn't really teach them that. They just don't know. They go there, they process their stuff, they do their thing. Most attorneys are not taking these overpayment claims because most people, upon receiving an overpayment notice, continue to receive their benefits because they call in, opt in to continue receiving their benefits. And sometimes their benefits aren't removed in total. They're just looking for like 3 months back pay or 3 months of, you know, benefits that were an overpayment for that short period of time. Or maybe it's just a single month. Sometimes it's like 5 years. We've had it where I think one was like 12 years, which was a huge amount of money. This means, you know, keeping in mind with all this thing that the attorney can't really get paid from these overpayment claims in the traditional sense, getting 25% of the back pay. And the reason why is what most judges will do is the judges know the attorneys won't take the claim because they can't get paid through traditional back pay / retroactive benefits. So when you reach the hearing level, the first thing they'll do is they'll kill your benefits, which then puts it on you to basically go find an attorney who can try and obtain benefits going forward through the back pay / retroactive benefits, the 25% rule, right? And the problem with that is that most attorneys know what the judges are doing. They're killing the benefits at the hearing level, so an attorney will pick it up. But none of us have time to make a couple $100 on 5 hours of work. It just doesn't work that way. Like between our staff and our time and all that stuff, with the economy being what it is, it's just too expensive. So as a result of this, attorneys can sometimes be rude when you call them about essentially representing you for an overpayment or getting help or answering a question. A lot of you guys get desperate. We get them at the law firm all the time. I had one person that called like 17 times in a row. We answered the first time they called, and then they just kept calling after that in an attempt to basically get me and not back office. What they didn't realize was that every Wednesday I go work with the homeless. So I'm not on phone calls on Wednesday until the very end of the day, like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. and later. So, you know, they kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until we finally had to block their phone number from coming into the law firm. I get it. From my side, as the most viewed and subscribed to disability attorney out there, you know, in America, rather, disability attorneys, we don't make that much. And it's a tough situation all around because the cost of living adjustment, which is really bad, and not paying you guys enough each year with this inflation problem. We get paid off of your benefits, which means we don't make the money that we should be making. When you should have double what your benefits are, we should be getting double what our payment is. And that's why we run into this problem. That's why you're not going to find attorneys doing these overpayment claims. So disability attorneys, you know, time is money, just like all the other attorneys. And these claims are time suckers. Overpayment claims take a lot of work. You got to go through all the files. You got to go through all the financials. You got to create a good reason that they should have been in a different situation, why they made a mistake, why it should be excusable, etc. So here's the deal. The point is, see if you can find somebody to help you. attorneys really aren't taking these anymore. I was one of the last, I think I was the last person to take them in Florida. You always have the option every Thursday to call into this YouTube channel, and from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ask questions. Okay. So if you're totally like, I don't know where to go or what to do, every Thursday we do the same thing. Eastern Standard Time, 8 to 10 p.m. You call the phone number for the law firm, 407 279 1754. Again, 407 279 1754. And then basically from there, I'll go ahead. If I can pick up your call, I will, and we'll go through the questions that you have. But when you call in for these overpayments, I expect you to be to some degree prepared. I expect you to know your timeline. I expect you to have at least a crappy version of an excuse in your head that we can shape and modify and go forward with. I expect the basics, okay? And this is important because we don't want to waste your time, we don't want to waste my time, and we don't want to waste the viewers' time when they're watching this, because they're going to have these questions one day too, because the amount of overpayments are going up because the computer systems that the SSA is using are much faster and accurate at finding problems. Okay, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we will go from there. It is super duper late. It is 2:28 a.m. I've got to wake up at 7:30 a.m. and I have a hearing, I think, around 11. No worries. I will catch you later. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.